All right, good evening, everybody. All right. So I'm gonna open today with reading. I feel like I read a psalm last week. No, I didn't. So we're gonna do a psalm this week. And we're just gonna do 112. I do this one a lot, but it's very powerful. So yeah, so dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today grateful and optimistic about this trading week, Lord. We ask that you would bless this outlook on the markets, Lord. Give us insight and wisdom, God. And Lord, lend us your ear right now as I read this psalm to you. Praise the Lord. Blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who greatly delights in his commandments. His offspring will be mighty in the land. The generation of the upright will be blessed. Wealth and riches are in his house, and his righteousness endures forever. Light dawns in the darkness for the upright. He is gracious, merciful, and righteous. It is well with the man who deals generously and lends, who conducts his affairs with justice. For the righteous will never be moved. He will be remembered forever. He is not afraid of bad news. His heart is firm, trusting in the Lord. His heart is steady. He will not be afraid until he looks in triumph on his adversaries. He has distributed freely, and he has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. His horn is exalted in honor. The wicked man sees it and is angry, and he gnashes his teeth and melts away. And the desire of the wicked will perish. Amen. All right, so I hope everybody who watches this had a good trading week last week. I would say our analysis did, I would say, pretty well. I think I was a little bit off on US 30, but I can forget, so we're gonna have to go back and look. But we'll get to that. But let's start with the dollar, as always. So, last week we talked about the dollar retracing this break of structure right here, and then continuing to climb higher, and pretty much the dollar just, I even have my arrows here still. So the dollar ended up, this is Monday right here, it did end up buying up on in the beginning of the week and taking out last week's high, and then it just decided to retrace for the rest of the week. So we did get a pretty large rejection candle here on Friday. So price is looking healthy. We didn't get a retracement and a push up, and I always tell you guys that it really matters what day during the week something is happening. So we had this pivot right here on Tuesday and Wednesday, like Tuesday, Wednesday-ish is when it began to broke to the downside. So am I sharing my screen? Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, let me repeat that. Thank you, Sarah. So pretty much our analysis last week, what I said was that we wanted to see price retrace and then continue to push up, but it just retraced for basically the whole entire week. And so last week when we did our analysis, I talked about this right here being like the Tuesday, Wednesday pivot, and then price would expand for the rest of the week. But it's pretty easy to tell when we're going to get just like a bearish week in general, because we had the price buy above Sunday's open on Tuesday, and then it started to break down to the downside between Tuesday and Wednesday. So for me, that kind of gave it away that price was going to be bearish for the rest of the week. And then we had our retracement here on Friday. So yeah, so pretty much our option 2 played out. It just went a little bit deeper because on the daily time frame, this was the imbalance that we had listed here, but it almost it almost looked like at the time being on Friday when we got this sell, it really did look like price was going to just break structure, break this low down here and then continue to sell. But as you can see, it was really large fake out. So that kind of just leads us into our next week. We did have that rejection candle, right? So to me, I'm pretty biased for price to kind of like give us that up move that we were talking about. Because we do have about 2 weeks until the federal funds, the Fed lowers our interest rates, and that's really going to push the dollar to the downside pretty significantly. So we do want to see price get as high as possible before that happens. But we're going to talk about a bearish scenario for this next upcoming week, as we always do. You always want to kind of give the market the benefit of the doubt, because at the end of the day, you don't want to ever assume that you know, because the market can do what it wants to do. And it's just easier on your psychology that way if you just, manage your expectations. Um, okay, I pretty much just wrote that out without even looking. So pretty much the higher high in the daily time frame would be this high here. We want to see that get taken out. So this microstructure that we have here that was created to retrace a higher time frame uptrend, I would consider this. Let's just go to the 1 hour real quick. Okay, so we had a really news heavy Friday, and we did have price break above this high, right? So we could say that we have a change of character already to the upside. So upon a Sunday open, it would probably kind of do some manipulation, right? Maybe it takes out one of these levels again just to like confirm the break of structure right here. Okay, and then we want to see, so this would happen between Sunday, Monday, and then we see price kind of just break down. This would end up being our Tuesday, Wednesday. And then we would just expand for the remainder of the week, making this our target. I think that we could hit this target up here by the end of next week, because overall we do want to see price continue to go higher. Let's just check out the news real quick. We have CPI next week, okay, on Wednesday. PPI. So yeah, this is going to be a super volatile week. I always think that before PPI and CPI, there's going to be a really good move on Monday to kind of get itself in position. But pretty much since they have already told us that they are going to be lowering the federal funds rate, it's pretty much just a matter of like when the data is coming out, it's pretty much just a matter of like how much they're going to start cutting it in this upcoming meeting. So some people are saying like, I don't know, I've heard crazy numbers. I've heard like 1.5 basis points, which is a lot for your first rate cut. But so pretty much this data here, we're just gonna have to, I would recommend looking and seeing like what the media is saying they think that the first cut is going to be. And then if, you know, the data isn't like, for instance, if the CPI comes out and it's like way, way, way lower than it once and it's way in the red, then I think that could potentially create some liquidity to the downside, to the sell side. But what if we got like a green CPI, you know what I'm saying? Then it's going to push price up and people are going to say, okay, well, maybe it's not a 1.5 cut. It's going to be 0.5, if that makes sense. So I would just be looking out for that. But overall, we do know objective wise that we are going to be cutting rates. So I think that's really the only thing that's up for discussion at this point, is just by how much. So yeah, so that's my option one pretty much. So that'll be our bullish. So the 13th, and then yeah, right here the following week. Okay, so we only have realistically this next week before the cut rates. So I would think that we're going to be bullish, but just in case we're not, if we see price kind of like open lower, you know what I mean, on like Sunday, Monday down here, and then we see it start to push higher, maybe it comes into this resistance, well, this this like level right here, and it fails to create a new high, then this would become like a resistance, which is why I'm saying that. And then we could see price sell off again. So this would be our Tuesday, Wednesday. My argument for this version would be that maybe price isn't selling to make a new low right here, although we do have some relative equal lows. It's just like consolidating back and forth, if that makes sense, to generate liquidity. And then maybe upon, you know, whatever we get for like the federal funds announcements and whatnot, we could see price, like if we have multiple highs right here, we could see price shoot up and then like sell down the following week when we have them cut rates. So it really just depends. So that would be my argument for a bearish week, is that we're just going to be consolidating. So yeah, I would like, just like before we move on, I would like to see this high, this wick right here. I would like to see price make a move above here in the very beginning of the week. I just want to see more confidence, more confirmation that price is actually breaking this high right here, because this is all news action right here, you know what I mean? So that's typically, liquidity being taken in and being put into the market. It's just manipulation. So in the beginning part of the week, I would like to see a confirmation of this high getting broken again, but okay. So that's the dollar. Now we're going to move on to the NASDAQ. Okay. So pretty much our bearish scenario played out, but we didn't get a sweep on this liquidity here, which is actually very interesting. Sometimes it just looks so obvious and you're like, that is going to get swept, and then it just doesn't. It's kind of weird. So like an example, the liquidity that we had marked was right here, right? That was our last week. We were expecting this to get swept, and it didn't. Price just like was breaking down all week. But then you see a similar scenario happen right here, right, on a smaller time frame. I dropped to the 15, kind of just doing that downward consolidation, and then price sweeps it and it sells off. So it's NASDAQ can play games for sure. But yeah, overall, our bearish scenario played out. We were bearish the whole week. In alliance with the dollar, which is pretty interesting. It can't happen. They don't always move in opposition to each other. But we also want to see the indexes go lower before the rate gets cut as well, because once the rates start getting cut, people are going to take their money out of the bond market and they're going to want to put their money into something else. Historically, it's been stock indexes, right? So it's just going to be, these cuts are triggering a whole transfer of money, right? People are selling low or selling high, buying low type of thing. So that's why we're seeing this movement to the downside on the NASDAQ. The question is, will it keep going? Because we had it make this big dip in the beginning of August, right? And it pretty much recovered itself. But once it hit that 2-week order block that we were talking about, it just started to sink. So this kind of makes me think that this is like a lower high, you know what I mean? And typically a lower low follows that. But we're just gonna have to wait and see and let it play out. And again, it's all going to be timing. So wherever we end up in relation to the rate cut, which is next Thursday, by the way, not this week, but the next Thursday, that will kind of give it away for us. So like right here, so right here, this price action right here, it kind of looks similar to what we're in right now. So price had a huge dip, right, and then it pretty much recovered, and then it started selling off significantly again, but it did turn around and could keep going. Let's see, when is that? January 2024. So yeah, I was able to catch the move on NASDAQ this week. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I have this tab. I have this tab right here. How to like I'm just like looking at a bunch of videos on like how people flip their accounts because I'm like thinking if we're getting this huge dip in the stock market right now, like if I was to somehow figure out a way to put a huge lot and just hold it until it makes a new high, that'd be legendary. Um, Unlike the dollar, we didn't have price really go above Sunday open until Tuesday, Wednesday. I think it actually spent very little time, and we're going to look at that again. But it didn't spend much time. I think on Monday, it actually just started to sell off. And then it just kept going for the rest of the week. Oh yeah, okay, so right here. So this was our bearish target too, is this imbalance right here. And I think it ended up way below that. What's that daily? Oh yeah, here we go. So if price was going to be bullish, this was our target that we wanted to see, and price reached that target. It just smashed through and even went lower. So at this point in time, if you're just looking at structure, we have a change of character right here in the daily time frame. Okay. If we take the Fibonacci and we fib this price leg that broke that daily high, price gave us a 61.8% retracement. So there's definitely room to go. I would say the lower the better, maybe. Let's take a look at this candle. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mark 78, 70, and we're gonna mark the 82. I just want to see what that looks like. So if we are going to continue moving to the downside, it's pretty simple. This is a pretty significant bearish candle. It's pretty easy, so we can just fib this candle from top to bottom because it is bearish. And if price wants to be generous, we could see like a retracement. I wouldn't expect anything more than 50%, right? So let me redo that one. So we're so close to our low of the week. I bet you on Sunday, Monday, we're going to see a sweep of last week's low. Then I'd like to see price come higher to at least around the 50%. We might not get that much of retracement because if you know NASDAQ, it doesn't really give you deep retracements all the time. But we have time, so maybe it will. And then the negative 27 of the fib is almost right next to the 78% that I had marked. So I'm just going to leave the arrow right here. Okay, so there's a bearish scenario. Um, So this would be like our Tuesday, Wednesday. This is Sunday, Monday. And then we look to end the week somewhere down here. I'm not saying that it couldn't go lower, but I do think structure is. Just look at the 2 week. I don't think structure is turning bearish completely. Oh my gosh. Wait, let me just hold that thought for a second. Okay. So it looks like we have a new 2 week bearish order block that was just posted. Good thing I looked at this time frame. So structure to me, it could be arguably either bearish or bullish. If we look back at this scenario right here, you have a bearish 2 week order block and then another one right after it, and price did end up breaking through this last one. But it still reacted, so you could see how price still sold, right? I think 2 week bearish order block, 2 week order blocks in general usually get a pretty decent reaction. As you can see, this second we tapped into this one right here, price started selling off. So that's cool because I was expecting it to sell into this bullish one that we had and then continue up. But to me, let me get rid of this fib. I think it broke. Yeah. So yeah, I broke below, creating a bearish one. So let's just go ahead and entertain this bearish order block real quick. So our first analysis that we kind of put here, the negative 27 for this bearish order block is also right at the 78% line. And the 50% and the 38% retracement levels are in a very similar location to that weekly candle I did that we fibbed the first time. So this order block is kind of just giving me extra confirmation at this point that price could become bearish this week. Again, I don't know how low it's going to go, but I do think like we just want to take the closest objective first and then, you know, kind of reevaluate our situation if it does continue to go lower. So because this is a large wick, and overall in my eyes, I think structure could be arguably bearish or bullish. There can be an argument for both sides. So okay. So let's talk about a bullish scenario. I think if we see something bullish, so if we were to have a bullish, I would think that we would get some type of consolidation between like Sunday, Monday, I believe, and then we would see price move lower, kind of like midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday. So that lower could look like just sweeping this week's low. It could be coming to the 70%, maybe even the 78, and then it would start making its way up, not because it's pivoting and we're going to go to the upside from here, but because it's spending the rest of the week to actually retrace this candle, retrace that 2-week order block, and then upon the following week, the news that we get might be so volatile that we get like a sweep down here, and then price starts going up to kind of like fake people out of the market. Because I've seen a lot of YouTube videos going around that everyone's saying the markets are going to crash once they start lowering rates, which I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it depends which market. So we'll see about that. But this would be like for the following week. So a bullish candle for the next week wouldn't necessarily mean we're making that pivot to the upside just yet. But it would just be to take that full week to retrace this candle and that 2-week candle that we saw. And then we'd get like our reaction to the 78 or something like that. Or maybe we just get like something that's like this, makes a higher high, and then goes up that next week. So yeah, that glad I looked at the 2-week time frame because it's kind of boggling my mind right now. I'm betting we'll see how I already stated, something that gives us like a higher low. Let's see price go. But we shall see in time what price wants to do. Okay. I missed such a good move on US 30 on Friday. I was so upset. I ended up taking a position on NASDAQ. I don't even know why, honestly. Even because I don't know, sometimes I just don't trust Dow Jones. But it ended up playing out perfectly on Friday, so I was butthurt, but you know, it is what it is. Doesn't want to load the picture. Cool. So we are also bearish on US 30. Which just starting out on this time frame, this is looking juicy. So last week, because we had such an extreme push to the upside and it literally came right where the last swing high is, I was biased that price was going to like push above and like break this high before it sold down, if it did sell down. But it didn't do that. It just like NASDAQ, it literally just turned around, which is really weird because now we have these equal highs right here. It's just like you were right there, you know. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this. But as you can see on the 2-week time frame, price is selling into this 2-week bullish order block, which is beautiful. Beautiful price action. It looks like we have a ways to go to, we're at the 50%, so there's a lot of room. I'm gonna mark the 78 for us again. Okay. We also have this bearish weekly candle. So love that because we can just fib from top to bottom. And we can just assume we may get price take out last week's low because there's a lot of liquidity resting here. I'm sorry, let me do this on the daily. It always tweaks out on the weekly. Okay. So Sunday, Monday, we could see price come below and take out last week's low. There's a lot of liquidity. That would give us a lot of energy to then take up and retrace. I'm just going to take this line of 50%. If it retraces deeper, that's great. But then our Tuesday, Wednesday, we would see a pivot to the downside. It looks like the 27% is really close to the 70% of that 2-week bullish order block. So we'll leave our arrow right there. So that's almost identical to our NASDAQ analysis. It's kind of funny how like right before they just like start faking people out. So everyone's like, oh yeah, like it's about to make a new high, whatever, da da da. But it's all a lie. They just like fake people into it because they know they want to get priced lower before the Fed cuts the rates. It's like I feel like trading is really just a game of like who can gaslight better. Okay, so our option one obviously is price is going to open lower. I say like in some way, because I don't know, I doubt it's gonna give us super large retracement, but never say never. And and then our bearish scenario is going to be very similar again. So like we have price open a bit higher, and then maybe it takes out its low, maybe it does a higher low right here. And then this is our Tuesday, Wednesday, right? And then we just see price push up for the week to give us that retracement into this order block. And then the following week, we could see some sort of like sweep to the downside. And then like price pivots. Okay. And I just like to mention price could possibly consolidate as well. If not this week, maybe even next week before the rates get cut. It could like consolidate, confuse everybody, and then the rate cut comes out, and then it kind of sweeps in multiple different directions, and then it starts building structure to where it's going. So people are in too early, and they're all getting stopped out of the market. The institutions are collecting their orders to make the most money that they can. I can see that also happening. Okay. Snap a picture of this, and then we're pretty much done here. However, I'm gonna touch on AUD USD because we've been following this pair for a couple weeks now because I thought it was a really good opportunity. So we're just gonna check on it and see how it's doing. That'll take a couple seconds. Okay. Cool. So AUD USD is doing really well. So I entered on Sunday last week, and yeah, price has just been selling. So I'm anticipating that we can get as low as possible, hopefully to the 78%. And then that's when you would want to then pivot. So this is also, we're also timing this in alignment with the rate cuts as well, because when our rates get cut on a pair that has the that has the dollar as the non-dominant currency in the pair, once the dollar moves down, it will actually push this pair upward. And AUD USD is actually scheduled to raise their rates for the next year, so that is also bullish on AUD side. So yeah, so this position is going well, and I hope that somebody took this because this is a good one. But yeah, so all right, so yeah, that's pretty much it for the week, or it for the day. I hope everybody has a blessed week in trading, as always. And yeah, if you want to join the Discord, go ahead. The link is in my bio. And other than that, I will see you next time.